What's going on, everybody? It's Virtual Handhelds 24. Um, Making a follow-up video to the Conquer. So there's a few things I want to go over, and then I promise we're gonna go back to emulation. So yeah, I got a few things I want to talk about. So the first thing is, I think this is on. Yeah. Uh, that stability test, like even I didn't believe it. So I was like, okay, before I go to sleep or last night, I was like, let me do it again. Same settings, don't change anything. Let's just see if it's gonna do the same. And let me go here, go to here, took a screenshot. I mean, we could just go to the app too, right? It's those three dots I could never see. So I did it again and I got a higher stability. 730. Wow, I thought it was way later than that. But anyways, I'm old. So it went up 0.1%, but still, nevertheless, 4800 machine. And I did the same test on the Pocket S, and it did worse. But there's more to everything with that and this, so we'll get into that, I promise, very soon. Anyways, I would have put up a video earlier today. Like, I was like, okay, this thing is finally working. Let's get it going. But I was like, oh, wait, like, I still got these chips on the side, right? I should gotta figure out how to fix that. And someone in the comments had mentioned, what if you do this and that? And, since I'm still doing a lot of construction in the house with remodeling, I have a bunch of tools and I have a bunch of sandpaper, and I have very fine sandpaper for when you replace drywall and you mud, and then you gotta prime it to paint it. You also gotta do sanding, and the finishing one, or the finishing level for sanding, is usually like a 220, and that's what I used, and I was able to get rid of all the chips. So, and it worked out because luck of the draw, the white model, like, you can't see. If it was like any other color, maybe the yellow would be second best, but the black, I think it would leave like a lighter tone, right? Because we're rubbing away plastic. But on the white model, you can't notice it. So I fixed it. I was like, yeah, finally. Now I can enjoy this thing, right? Wrong. So when I said I didn't break anything, when I took this apart and put it back together, I thought I didn't, right? And I was doing tests between this and the Pocket S2 yesterday with some games, and I was just seeing the frame rates and seeing that, like, if these thermals are really gonna like improve the performance, or at least be on par with the Pocket S2 now, because it should, right? And I found out a bunch of stuff with the Pocket S2, which we'll go over. It's just very spicy, very interesting. But I was like, okay, this is good. And then again, before I went to sleep, I was like, I'll just do a 3D wildlife test just to see, like, if this thing, and that was after I've been playing it for like an hour and stuff, and still got that. I was like, oh my God, chef's kiss. I still don't recommend you doing this, because when I was getting ready to do a video today on a game for emulation, the first part of the game wants you to use the right trigger, right? So I'm like this, and nothing's happening. I'm like, what's going on here? And then, I go in here and I'm like, well, silly me. I'm, probably got the modes mixed up or something. It's probably on digital or linear. So I switch back and forth, and still nothing's working on the right trigger. I'm like, oh Lord. And so I instantly go like this and, put it in the digital form, and this works. I'm like, wait a minute, this works, but the linear doesn't work. What the heck? So I was like, oh no, I gotta take it apart again. So I was like, at least I'll be able to fix this part, because I'm going to go, obviously not just shave it here. I'm going to go on the inside and shave off all the uneven edges. So when I do put it back together, it'll look clean. But more importantly, I was like, yeah, that's fine, but how am I going to fix the trigger? I have no idea what I'm doing. Honestly, I was like, I don't know how to do that. I have some knowledge of how to change a thermal pad. That's it. So here we go again. Take this thing apart. And what is it? The right one? Yeah. So I'm not taking this apart anymore. When you take off the shoulder or the trigger cap, and then just the triggers there, it looks very similar to the Evo, 2 screws. And this right here has like 2 little things. One is shorter and then one is curved and longer because it holds the magnet that gets closer to the sensor. But thus, like, to give you the range of like, this is gas, that one's brake. So the closer I go, the more gas we get. Obviously for linear, that's just how it goes. And I was doing that, I was like, and so I didn't see anything that was wrong, like anything get in the way. I was looking over here to see if I like smashed something. I was like, oh Lord. And then everything looked clean. I was like, okay, let me take an alcohol wipe. Let me just wipe down the sensor, wipe down the magnet, And then I'm like, okay, well, there's only one way to do this. And I turn it on with half of it gone, right? Because the back plate's off. And I have to be very careful because these buttons will just fall out. So I'm like, okay, I'm gripping it like this. And mind you, the trigger's not there. It's just the inside trigger. I'm pressing down and I'm in the, the gamepad. And I'm pressing down and it's not reacting. So there's a button here when this is locked that part of the trigger will make contact with to, obviously make the function of digital left or right trigger pull. And then over here, there's a thing with the magnet that gets closer to a sensor. That's how that reads the linear pull. And I didn't see anything wrong with the magnet or the sensor. So I'm like, what did I do wrong here? So I'm pressing the button. It's registering as a trigger. So if I have it locked, I couldn't do that because the back plate was off. It works. So I was like, okay, the digital works. Maybe I could just live with, just the digital switch and never have like a trigger pull. I was like, oh, hell no. And after I did all this stuff to it and went through this, like it could have just not did anything, right? And it would have been fine and just suffered the performance. Hey, it's still like better than the Odin 2, right? And I was like, that's it. I'm done thinking like it's just better than the Odin 2. It's supposed to be a lot better than the Odin 2. And we'll get into that, right? And especially like I didn't ever want to take this apart. And I don't recommend anybody to do so because it just is not one of those handhelds that are easy to take apart. And changing the thermal pad is very easy because there's not much, as you've seen in my other video, that you need to do other than carefully take the back plate off and the triggers without breaking anything. That's the hardest part, honestly. And the other part is, if you are interested in doing it, just make sure when you take it apart, you take the pin out that holds this, or when you take it apart, make sure that the pin's still inside and this is still like in line how it's supposed to be on the back plate, because you don't want to lose that. Okay, anyways, so I take the whole trigger off, right? Because there's only 4 screws holding it and there's no cables connecting really the trigger to the motherboard. There's things that make connection, but they're not like ribbon cables connected. So you could just take the trigger off. Thank God, that's what I did. And I'm like, yo Alexa, how do I fix this? I was like, how do I need to remagnetize the magnet? Like, what do I do? And Alexa was like, just do this with the magnet like 100 times to remagnetize it. I was like, I don't got 100 times time to do that. So basically just take the magnet to another magnet and go like this to make sure it's still pulling. And I did that for like a good 2 minutes. It was so stupid. I was like, obviously this magnet works. So what's going on? The little sensor that's right there that when you push down that makes the connection with the magnet must be broken. I effed it up. That's what I'm thinking. And I was like, man, I need to like just give up on this thing because, it's really, at the end of the day, I was like, it's my fault for, taking it apart. And when I think about it too, it's just like, the doing what I did was very niche. The whole hobby's niche, but it really burned me that this was outperforming this and things are different on here, but it's the same chip. I just couldn't figure it out. So it just drove me to the point, this is brand new. And I was like, because eventually I would have took it apart, right? Just waited for someone else to do it. I didn't want to be the first one. Like, and I did not want to do that. But it just, I lost sleep over it, took off work, and I was like, I'm doing this. I don't care, you know? And anyways, I did it, right? I fixed the thermals and yada, yada, yada. Story continues. But then waking up to finding out the right trigger doesn't work, really, like, that's it. Like, I lost, I gave up. And I was like, I can't give up because it doesn't look broken. And it doesn't look like the little sensor smashed, touched, or anything. And I'm pressing down on the trigger. And as hard as you press, even without the shoulder blade here, just pressing down, it still does not, the magnet doesn't actually make a connection to the sensor. So it's not like, I was prying this open and I was pushing down on the trigger to smash it. That's what I thought. I was like, that doesn't make sense because I'm trying to take it away. So I was like, well, this is all magnets. It's just reminding me of grade school. I'm trying to think. I'm like, what the? So it's like, all right, the magnet works. And I was like, this one works. What's the difference here? And so it's like, the only thing I could think of was, and this is just for your own information, if this ever happens to, like, with any other handheld that's Hall-based triggers, because I know nothing about that other than seeing it. I took a magnet, right? And it's a weak magnet, but it works. It's a fridge magnet. And I went on this side, the side that's good. And there's a little gap when the trigger's there, obviously, because the closer it gets, that's how it reads it. So it's like, let's see if this picks up this magnet, if I get it, like, slide it underneath and I get real close to it. And I still have it on, mind you, with no back plate on. And it shows up. I'm like, oh, sweet. So I go over here and I do the same thing and I'm trying to look. And it doesn't show up. I'm like, oh, let me try again. And I go in even closer to, like, almost where it touches it, and then it reads. And then I press down, it reads. Bada boom, bada bang. The trigger's fixed. And I was like, holy hell. Like, because I was looking on Reddit. I was, I obviously asking Google and Alexa and all that stuff. And they're all giving me different stories. I was looking for a video. No one really has one. And I knew it wasn't, like, physically damaged. And I took apart more of the device, just the trigger, basically. But I took it off to see underneath if I smashed something or, whatever. And I cleaned it with alcohol, made sure everything was connected correctly, screwed it back in, and it still wasn't working. But just a little bit of remagnetization, if it was the magnet in between the magnet, or if it was just the magnet, like, basically so close to the sensor to reactivate it, or maybe that's how it remagnetized the magnet to work. Either way, it works now. So I was like, oh my God, yes, right? So the point of the story is, don't take it apart. If you are fortunate, they'll get a unit with the thermal putty placed correctly. If your scores, and you're doing this and you're interested and your scores are not that high, it's not worth taking this thing apart because it's not durable. Like, the back plate it's thin in all the wrong spaces of where you want to take it off. Like, right here is where it's the thinnest. It's tougher up here, but I wouldn't recommend taking it apart up here because the buttons up here, they're held together by the two plates and, like, a thin ribbon cable. So you don't want to, like, accidentally mess that up, like the ribbon cable connection from the up and down or the power button, more importantly. So that's a huge no-no. And then the other, like, down here, you can't really take it apart because you'll run into this, and you don't want to pop that pin out by cracking this open and have that pin, like, disappear, because you need it to have this. So you really have to go on the side, unfortunately. And like I said, you could use a sander and you could fix your device like I did if you got the white model. But I don't know if that would really work on the black model or the yellow model, because it's going to rub some paint off. So, I mean, it's just, I went through hell and back for this thing. I'll be honest with you. It it's almost worth it, but at the end of the day, like especially with this would have been just fine if I never took it apart, right? And I had to like figure this out on the spot, and that was cool, but very time consuming, and obviously like a panic attack because you don't want your device to break and have to just. I was like ready to buy the terabyte version. I was like, that's it, this is it, I'm gonna have to, and I can't sell it because if the trigger doesn't work, or if it works half-ass, like that's just, I don't want to do that to someone else that's interested in this device and then pays less for a broken device just to get it. I still think they deserve the full package. So I was very happy that I was able to fix it. And it's cool to know that too. If you ever do have a problem with your Hall-based triggers, you really just need to go in between the magnet and the sensor, as long as it looks fine, and just remagnetize it that way. Like I tried remagnetizing the whole trigger away with a magnet, and the magnet was working, like it was sticking, like I could feel the pull, there was no problem, but the sensor obviously wasn't with me when I was doing it, so you need to get in between. And then sure enough, it works. So that's that story. And then after that, I was like, let's fix this up. And on the inside, since I have the back plate off, so I took that sander brick and I just gently went across the edges, and then I went on the inside. I did it on here too, just so it just looks like it's new again, right? Even like down here, this isn't damaged or anything, it's just it's just the way the unit is made, it's still uneven. It's almost like you need to sand it on purpose to make it look more redefined, because it's still it's like kills me. It's like this isn't broken, but this makes me want to sand this. Who wants to sand their handhelds down? That doesn't make any sense. But the good news is this is much better now. The connection is flush, and I couldn't be happier about that, because I did notice like the gap over here when it was together and not taken apart. That's how it came. And again, my Pocket S2 Pro came with the whole back plate open, and I just smushed it closed. That's ridiculous. So again, shame on Anio for quality control. And I really don't want anyone to take this device apart if they don't really need to. So unless you're interested in that, that's kind of why I made the video, because I know there's going to be people out there that are going to do it regardless, and I'm going to do it regardless because obviously I know what kind of performance to get out of this, and it's not fair. Like I paid my money, I have the channel. How am I going to advertise this if it doesn't work right? And now it's like, yeah, it works better, but how do I advertise something that I did something to by nearly breaking it twice? Because anything could go wrong when you take it apart. So that was a gamble. And then the whole trigger thing, that was because obviously whatever I did when taking it apart caused it to demagnetize, and that was a gamble. So no one should gamble with their money, is what I'm trying to say. But now that it's working, we'll get back into emulation. So we will, I promise. This video is just, again, more for your information, because I know there's the 5 people out there that have this, and there's a little drama with this device now. And it's not with the thermals or anything like that. Is this even on? Nope, gotta turn it on. But okay, we'll start with the drama. And this is just what someone left this post on my YouTube page, and I saw the post on Reddit. For the Pocket 2S Pro owners, and you see like right here is not completely flushed, but the battery is over here. Again, that's just like how the device came, and I had to put it back together. It is what it is. But anyways, there's a consumer that bought this and used it more than me. Probably, obviously, without the case, because what we're going to go into is what happened to his unit. And unfortunately, and someone else was saying, this is like the ADD, but like this is metal, okay? On the Pocket S1, it's metal too. There's a little more plastic, like here, and like the flap, yeah, that's plastic, and maybe the plastic button, but the metal frame, that's definitely metal, okay? There's no question about it. It's not plastic. I don't know who said that to me, but I was just like, okay. It's just not as much metal as this, because this is a thicker boy. And the point of the story is they played this constantly, and I think they had the black model, I'm assuming. or they could have had the retro one. I don't know. But they said the paint started chipping on the back. And because the sweaty palms, just playing it, playing it, playing it, the device doesn't get hot, but like, any device is going to, if you just play it constantly without cleaning it, it's, your sweat, whatever finger juice is going to go in here. But because of that, the plastic started chipping and the black back plate mold started like warping, and then the battery started bulging out. And he reached out to A&EO to, get I guess either a replacement for the back or the battery. I'm not exactly sure, but I got this in September. I pre-ordered it whenever. So September to now, yeah, it's like there's what A&EO is saying is that it's past the 6-month warranty. Like 6 months? Okay, first of all, I'm happy that nothing bad has happened to this unit, and I'm happy that I don't have to open this unit. I'm okay with this unit, not doing anything other than showing off games on the chip, right? But if something were to happen and I had just bought it and then A&EO was like, oh, yep, time's up. You can't do anything about it. We can't help you. I would be so furious because this, my friends, is more than like a Steam Deck. This is the terabyte. I don't know what I paid. It was like probably close to $600 maybe with the Indiegogo early campaign. It's something ridiculous, right? This was barely $400, and it's, again, without being the terabyte model, the 5 gig was such a deal. $350 or something plus shipping plus tax. Now we're aiming to like $391. $391, right? This is why I wanted to show this off. This is like twice as much money at the end of the day, right? And it's a different form factor. It's a different, it's like I said, this is luxury, right? But it does have its weaknesses and this has its strengths, but overall this is a better bargain on paper, right? I'm glad I'm able to have both and show both off, but the idea was to just recommend the Konkr, because why would you waste so much money on something when you could get it in a different form factor that's more comfortable and, better screen, like hertz wise. So knowing that sucks, because A&EO's not going to help anybody out, whoever got this, because it's January and I guess September or whenever we purchased it, it's past the 6 months rule. So finding that out really upset me, and I found that out last night. I was really disappointed because this had nothing to do with anything. Like, it was already collected dust. Like, okay, we're moving on to the next one. But I'll come back and take it out of the case to just feel it and play with it, stream from it, because I don't like to push these things for more than an hour at most. I really don't have time to do so, but I wouldn't want these expensive handhelds to go through the ringer every day. But some people are like, I'm gonna get this and use it every day because that's what I want to do with it. I know what it can do. I'm gonna get my money's worth, and I'm all for it. So finding that kind of stuff out, it's like, well, now you can't really use it every single day at its full potential, because if something goes wrong, it's already too late to get something fixed because of their warranty. So again, I didn't know about the warranty or anything like that, but I feel like 6 months is kind of short, especially for a model like this. Maybe for this, hey, I get it, but this, so much money, it should be at least a year, right? Something goes wrong, doesn't last. So you're going to sell a product and it's not going to have a warranty for, it's a warranty is only 6 months, and there's no guarantee. You receive the product, right? Like mine, we'll just use this one as an example. 6 months. Now I can't, let's say I didn't take it apart, right? I know something's is not quite right in here, but it's still performing good. But I know that it is supposed to be performing just a little better. The thermal pad is overkill because with 99, I mean, come on. But the scores I was getting wasn't nearly as close in bad stability as the Pocket S2 Pro. People are telling me the fan is bigger, which it kind of does look bigger, but who knows? I didn't take that apart. But either way, I'm like, I know something's wrong with it. So how would I go to A&EO and be like, hey man, this isn't performing well? They're going to be like, well, show me, send a video, do a test, do this, and I'll do my 3D wildlife marks, and I'll get maybe a 91, 92% stability. That's good. That's good. You're good. And I'll be like, yeah, I know, but it's supposed to be better. Well, how do you, they're not gonna understand, and they're gonna give you the runaround, right? You can make it better, but that means you have to do it yourself. DIY. Yeah, just like my house. Whoop 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 whoop. Anyways, save money. No, don't do that. Um, I mean, for your house, do it, but don't do it to the handheld. It's not worth it. I mean, even with all the stuff I'm learning, I still don't recommend taking these devices apart. But with this one, it was just like, I'm not going to be able to. They're not going to do anything for me. I already knew that. That's why when I was filming the warranty, I did not care if it fell apart, ripped off, or whatever. Obviously, I'm going to post this. They could just figure out who I am. And like, nah, man, we saw you take apart that Konkr. Like, you're not gonna, we're not gonna help you out. You know what I mean? So I made the decision to do it myself without ever taking a device, this device specifically apart before or seeing it. I kind of just took a gamble, and I got lucky. But I don't want anybody else to run into any problems either. So don't do it if you're not fully like 100% worried about performance. If you're okay, you just don't do it, because I don't want anything bad to happen to anybody else's unit or have stuff like go wrong like my unit. That's why I'm sharing the story, because hopefully if something does happen, doesn't necessarily have to be this, but something else, you could fix it that way. But anyways, that just sucks, because I think about other people that get their units. They're like, hey, this joystick doesn't work, or this doesn't work, and they're like, show me a video, and then maybe they'll have you send it back, and then they'll send it back fixed, hopefully. I had them fix the Evo when I first got it, because besides the internet, like I said, I had to figure that whole debacle out with the 5 gigahertz. So stupid. But the charging cable, I would plug it in, it wouldn't stay charging, so I had to send it back, right? And when they sent it back, they had asked me, like, do you want thermal grease or thermal paste with the thermal pad? I was like, give me it all. Like, I already know that thing's going to underperform from everything that's going on. Shout out to Bass Derek, or Derek Bass, because he was the one all about fixing the Evo, thank God, right? And when I got my unit back, I was like, all right, now I can take it apart, right? Because I plug it in, the charger's working. I'm like, all right, internet, we don't need internet. We'll just drag and drop everything over here. That's all we need, because it was like mostly switch emulation. So I took the Evo apart, and then there's a ribbon cable that goes down here that goes somewhere. I don't know what it's supposed to do, but it's supposed to be connected on top of the battery, and it's not. It's just a flap hanging loose. So I'm like, and I plug it back in. I'm like, was that like, again, here we go. If I didn't take the device apart to change the thermals, I wouldn't seen that ribbon cable that wasn't plugged in. And you fixed it, but you sent it like half broken still. Like, I don't understand the quality control. And that is a true story. That did it, not this Evo, but my other Evo that's like in parts, spare parts at this point. That was the case. And it was a simple fix, just plug it in. But how could you send it not plugged in? Whatever that cable does or what have you, it's supposed to be doing something, and the connection is right there, and you just left it hanging loose. So I figured after the Evo, everything else, it was going to be better, because there was a lot of complaints about the Evo. And when I got the Pocket 2S, the first thing I was like, okay, there's wacky internet, it's a different chip, maybe it'll just connect to my Wi-Fi, and it did. Okay, moving on. And then before I got the Pocket S, I got the Ace. The Ace, same chip, same problem. Couldn't figure it out. Didn't know that it's just a 5 gigahertz internet connection device, not Wi-Fi 6, not Wi-Fi 6E or Wi-Fi 7. It's a 5 gigahertz. Okay, that kind of internet is like an Ambernix. Okay, that 5 gigahertz. It's it gets good download speeds. On 5 gigahertz, but it can connect to a 6 gigahertz. But if you get too close, guess what happens? It loses signal because it can't handle it. So when they advertise high speed Wi-Fi, they never specify what kind of Wi-Fi. This is what I'm talking about. They're like hidden little details that I like to explain, because I went through them, right? Like the Ace, for instance, like it's same chip, whatever. It came out we're in 26. It came out last year, but it came out, the 2025 is like a year of high-speed internet. Like, You're selling a device with 5 gigahertz internet because of the chip, but you're not telling anybody that. You're just overpricing it and selling it. And people are like, yeah, but they're not. I guess a lot of people don't have 6E, or, if they're, whatever their room is, maybe it's far away from the router. So they don't ever run into that problem where if they get too close to it, it loses all reception. But either way, on 5 gigahertz, the internet connection's better, stronger, faster, everything works better, even when I was far away from the internet on 6E. That's a huge problem because streaming is the number one thing I like to do, and now I can't do it on these devices because there's no explanation as to why. And when I reached out to A&O, they just said, are you connected to your internet? Da da da. I think they didn't understand either, or the customer service people that were responding for them didn't understand that it was a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi chip. And that's the only reason why I found out is because I rooted the Evo and I had, it run a test to find out that it just wants the 5 gigahertz. It can connect to a combination of 6 gigahertz, 2.4, and 5, but it does the best just on a 5 gigahertz network. So, if we move or go somewhere else and we take the internet with us or get a new internet plan and it's just rolled into one high-speed internet, these devices won't work. I'll have to separate the internet lines so they can work. And that's way too much to do for freaking handhelds, let me tell you. All right, enough complaining, because I'm not going to complain all day and night about A&O. These are just my experiences. I just want people to know you're not alone. Don't hate them too much, because the more they find out of how people are receiving and reviewing these things, the more their narcissists will be to ignore it, but just make those changes really quick and not talk about them. Again, like the G3 Gen 3, it doesn't overheat, right? And it doesn't. The thermal paste or the thermal putty could have been better, but overall it doesn't nearly get as hot as the GX Gen 3. Perfect. It's got better Wi-Fi, but it's not, Wi-Fi 7. So you can say it's high-speed Wi-Fi now because it connects to Wi-Fi 6. Okay. See, these little changes, they don't go into great detail about. It's just what I've found out from having them. So as much as the Ace still costs money, as much as the Evo still costs money, as much as the Pocket 1S still costs a lot of money, they have poor internet connection. Unless you have a 5 gigahertz internet, like I said, you'll be golden. But most people, I would believe, have moved on to 6E or Wi-Fi 7. You're screwed. Because this thing is going to tell you, yeah, I can connect to it, but then it's the closer you get to your router, the less it works. So you could play far away. It's the freedom that's being taken away. You shouldn't have to be in a certain spot of your house to have the device work. We're in 2026, and at the time, 2025 is still good enough for everything to just work on internet. Could you imagine if a phone came out that way, like their new phone? Despite, let's put China and their bandwidth or whatever. Let's put that on the side, right? And let's just say that just works. There's no, the version is gonna just work, right? Let's just say it works in America. But could you imagine, you get this phone, right? And you couldn't use your phone, or you couldn't connect your phone to the Wi-Fi because it's a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, but this flip sliding phone looks awesome. It's so high tech. How does it, I don't understand. I don't have to use my own data when I could just connect to the Wi-Fi and use my phone like I do, right? Save your data. You could have unlimited. You could still save it. But it's not working. Could you imagine if it was your phone? Oh my God. Anyways, too much complaining. So let's go over some results. This, boys, is the Y700 Gen 3. Okay. This is what we're rocking with. And this, my friends, is exactly the same as this and this. So we do have a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 in all three devices. The difference, because it is based off the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, let's just say it is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, okay? They made a name, G3 Gen 3, because they did something, and I'll tell you what they did. So this came out well before these two, right? And this is not overclocked or anything. And as you can see, CPU core 1 is, CPU 7, right? But it has a core that goes up to 330 gigahertz. Well, who else has a core that goes up to 330 gigahertz. The Konkr Fit does. So we go here, we pull this up, and I should have paid more attention, I guess, to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, but everybody just cares about the 8 Gen 2, so there's that. And let's go to settings. But as you can see, ANEO being ANEO, we'll make it 2 points higher because we're the best. We're the best. Best shipping, fastest shipping. All the products, they never break. They always come perfectly. Perfect products, best handles. We're the best. They're like, let's make it 330 plus 2 more points, right? Like, whatever. Anyways, this clock I saw first when I was doing comparisons, or starting to, with the Pocket S2 Pro. I've just been busy and trying to, with the holidays and stuff, and squeezing videos in. I I really was not focusing on emulation. I was focusing on Xbox 360 Xenia, right? Because I'd love to get that working a little better to share with people, so powerful devices like these can play Xbox 360 games, versus the app, which, no, there's no shade to the app. It's just, I don't know how fast the app is going to move forward when it kind of already works better than RPCSX through GameHub. Like, how cool is that? Like, we're just so close to getting it to work correctly that I was like, I got distracted with just that. And then I got the Odin 3 and I was like, more power. I can't really do Switch yet, so let's focus on other things like Xbox 360 or RPCSX, or GameHub, something like that. So I kind of forgot about this whole, I honestly, I forgot I even had that. This, someone else has been using it, but for this video, I took it just so you guys could see. All right, anyways, back to the story. So we have the same clocks basically, right? 2.7, 2.96, and 3.15. Okay, so it's a little different on the Konkr Fit, but not by much, like 2.27, 2.26, and then 3.15, and it's like 3.148. So it's very similar. Maybe they tuned down the cores a little bit and gave the 2 points to the last core. But if we go to the Pocket S2 Pro, and we'll pull up the performance profiles. So again, the Pocket 2S Pro was like the first G3 Gen 3 device, I think. Or maybe it was that Sugar Cube, I don't know. That transformer. 2.65, 2.65, 3.1. Yeah, it's similar to the Konkr, obviously, but the last core, for whatever reason, they downclocked to 3052, right? But in max mode, or max clock mode, I guess, the clock goes up to 3.3 gigahertz, and it does on the Konkr. It doesn't on the Pocket S2 Pro. So why did they do that? Okay. Now, I don't want to bore you too much more with this stuff, but these beat this and everything. So like CPU, single, multi, they were close, but they still won. The GPU, this and this beat this by like 1,000 points. I will show you that because in case people have just 8 Gen 3 phones. Let's go to history. So 16, and this was, and I'll tell you why. It was in its like max mode, right? Because it does have that. It still did better than a lot of cell phones though, because it is built for this kind of stuff. So it's got the, vapor chamber and all that. It's still no slouch. Like, it is better for gaming than a cell phone, right? But it doesn't compete with this version of this chip because they did something to the chip. Again, G3 Gen 3. So it keeps going away. I hate this. this is here, but it goes, the GPU goes up to, guess what? What does it go up to? We're at 629. We're getting close, but we're not quite there. So maybe a couple hundred more. Well, if you guessed 903, you are absolutely correct. So this whole time I've been telling people, turn down the GPU, turn down the GPU on the Ace, on the, I guess the Ace. I did maybe a couple videos on the Evo, but on the Pocket S Pro, definitely turn it down to 903. So I changed my settings around, so my max mode is 903, right? But the G3 Gen 3 on here, as well as the Konkr, goes up to 1050. So that's a huge jump. That's not necessary. This is overkill, very overkill. The chip is not the GX Gen 3. It has better stability, but this is still going to cause overheating like nobody's business, because it was only designed in general to go up to 903. Now, it's not an exact copy of the 8 Gen 3, but it's really close and it's based off the 8 Gen 3. So why would you want to do that? Because you have a built-in fan? No. So if you have any of these devices, your max mode should be 903, or if you want the gaming mode, if you want that, whatever, just don't go past 903, because you're going to really lose performance, because you're going to lose stability, and it's just going to be up, then straight down. And it'll be up and down faster versus a longer straight line. So that was very interesting. Okay, so there's your proof. Okay, it's better than an 8 Gen 3 because they overclocked the GPU by 147 points. Okay, that's overkill. Like, I never used the device in that manner to get better performance than a video of an 8 Gen 3 phone doing the same thing. It was just, that's on paper the difference. On these chips or these devices, they did change some of the CPU cores, like levels and stuff, but I imagine they're very close to the 8 Gen 3. And on the Pocket S2 Pro, they turned down CPU 7 to 352. And it's weird. And I haven't played with the Pocket S2 Pro for quite some time, and other things have changed. So we're going to do a little demonstration of that with both devices. Like I said, I did a 3D wildlife test against this, and this beat this with that 99.4% now, right? It had similar settings on here, and the loop scores were lower, and the stability was worse. It was like a 93 or something. But this thing has broke 5,000 many times. I probably need to turn the GPU down to, I think it was at 903, right? I should have turned it down to 834 and went back to back, and it would have probably been on par, but maybe got a higher score than the Konkr. It is what it is. But the stability, I think the Konkr would have still won, because, I just put my heart and soul into that. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm going to pause it and then we'll go to gameplay. All right. So let's get out of here. And I should have showed you the settings for this. So let's go to device settings. All right. So performance profiles, we will start with balance. So balance, I turned to 834. All maxed out, and then gaming is 834 and all maxed out. So these two performances on paper are the same. And then my max mode is 903. So you're like, RH24, why would you make balance and gaming the same? Because on the Pocket S2 Pro, now it doesn't matter, and I'll show you why. It's not a bad thing, but it's weird. And it's, again, we should have full potential of CPU 7, but you don't on this device, and I don't know why yet, but I'll find out. Because the same chip, more money, should get the 330. So on here, balance is the same, it's 834. Gaming, I think, is the same as well, 834, right? My max mode should be 903, because that's now max mode. There is no need for full speed fan anymore on these devices. It is not going to be worth it. Why isn't Wi-Fi connected? Probably because I had this thing off. Let me connect, because we're going to need it for the game hubs. Okay. So let's not be in max mode though. We'll start off in balance mode. So it doesn't matter here, but it kind of matters here. So I was testing out when I thought I had finally fixed this thing, even though the right trigger was broken last night, I was testing out some games on GameHub to see like what if the stability is better. And for the most part, it was. I couldn't really see any like frames dropping, or granted, I haven't really tested many GameHub games on here, unfortunately, because of the holidays and other devices, but let's use Resident Evil as a good example. Don't worry about the settings. It's in a mode where it works very well, but it will crash, and that's just Proton 10 in Extreme. You have to, if you want to play this game, you should put it in Proton 9 with like strong memory 1 safe flag, and then 1 weak barrier. So always a good combo. Sometimes 0 for strong memory, you could get away with it, and then 1 weak barrier, that gives you even better performance, and then so on. This is just laziness because I want to just show the difference here. But both these devices keep up with the Odin because they can both get over 60 frames a second now, as you can see. Eventually it will crash. But what's cool is if we throw up the stats and try not to pay attention to the frames. Alright, we are in balance mode, right? And our GPU's clocked at 834. We're steadily around 63, 65, 66, whatever, right? Okay. Nothing is changing here. It doesn't look like it, right? It looks like all the CPUs are maxed out the way I want them to be. Okay. Now let's go here, and we're going to pull up the same game, the same mode, except one CPU core is turned slightly down. Different screen, whatever. And while that's loading up, we'll just go here and we'll go to gaming. Same setup. Theoretically, nothing should really happen because the GPU didn't go up. And as you can see, nothing happened. And then we'll go to max mode, which is the same, but just going up to 903. And it crashed, right? Because that's going to happen. But, you know, it's hit or miss now with max mode, but it's not lose performance mode anymore because it's a good mode. So let's go here now. And this is where it draws more questions to what they're doing and with these updates. Go to continue. Let's go here. Oh, geez, we're not even balance mode. My bad. All right. So, hold on. I think it's because I started in balance mode. We gotta do it over. It's not the frames. That's not what we're gonna be looking at that. Okay. Now you see eco mode is just like the Konkr. Even though it's maxed out, it only goes up to 787 megahertz. We'll start in eco mode, not for eco mode, but to see if I can't show you what I saw twice and then tried again this morning. Happen on here, then I would be very upset. But I think it's because I started in a higher mode. And I gotta find my phone. This video is already way too long. But the more you know. This is for the Pocket 2S owners, to be quite honest, because potentially we could have a higher CPU clock 7. It's not that important because it does perform just fine out of the box. The warranty is only 6 months. You know, if you're effed, you're effed. But yeah, let's go to balance mode now. All right, so balance mode. Yep, there you go. The clocks are not maxing out anymore. They kind of do whatever they want. See how they change? It's not supposed to ever change if I have them locked a certain kind of way. And it's not a bad thing, don't get me wrong, because your frames will go up as it changes, right? Like the auto mode. But what's weird is that if they're all like that, if I go to max mode, it will do the same thing. I noticed the clocks will go up and down depending on whatever the situation needs. And I was like, okay, so what is the point of performance overload? It's not doing it now, but it did do it in max mode last time I did this. Oh, there it goes. It's changing. And it's like, okay, well, RH24, that makes sense. You know, it's not needing all these cores to be maxed out all the time. I was like, well, yeah, I know, I get that, but I programmed it to do it that way for the performance profile, like lock in the GPU. And it's not at 903, it's at 834. It's doing whatever it wants. That's, you know, obviously the best for the game. That's awesome. Don't get me wrong, that's what we want. Okay. So what you're saying is, you know, you can max it out to this, like you have the clocks maxed out. Well, it will only max them out if it needs to max them out. Okay. Same thing with the GPU. If we need to go to 903 because that's what you set the max at, then we'll go to 903. Like right now we're at 834. So we're getting, like, again, we got over 70 frames right there, right? We're not moving, but still. This is better than the Odin 3 right now without moving around too much, because I'm sure it'll change. And plus, this mode will crash. It doesn't crash on the Odin 3, so don't get that twisted, but it's still impressive, right? But what's going on here? How come the Pocket S2 Pro has one CPU 7 that's clocked lower at right now where it's at, 3052? It crashed. But how come the Pocket S2 cores are automatically going up and down to increase performance and cooling and efficiency while the Konkr Fit doesn't? Keep that in mind, and that was the whole point of showing you that. So what does this mean? What this means is until someone says something and they push another update to the Konkr Fit, which I don't know that when that will be, but hopefully it comes to the Konkr Fit. But what that means is this will outperform this now for sure, because it has an auto mode on all the modes, regardless of what the settings you set them to. It's going to do what it thinks it's best to increase frame rates, keep stability, and yada yada yada, by not maxing everything out and, you know, keeping the temperatures down so you don't have to change a thermal pad or something like that, right? It's thinking. It's doing its job. You don't have to do the job. I like that. But why doesn't it work on here? So long story short, it's like, why? Because I was testing these games out and it was doing better. It was still doing better. And I was like, my performance is amazing. It's, you know, it's 99.3% at the time. Better than you. Like, why are you still doing better than me in games? I don't get it. Well, here's why. Whatever's going on with the Pocket S2, whatever they were thinking, they did stuff to the last core, CPU 7. They turned it down just a hair, and you can still do that here. Not a big deal. But more importantly, they also have, and I don't know how long this has been on because I haven't played with this for a while, they have this auto feature that doesn't matter whatever besides eco. If you max them all like me and just change the GPU frequency, it's gonna do whatever it wants to whatever you set the limit to on the Pocket S2 Pro. I have not noticed that on the Konkr, and I'm not saying it won't come here, but again, why wouldn't you send it to the Konkr if it does? It's the same chip. I don't get it. And why did you clock down CPU 7 based off the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 that has a higher CPU 7 frequency? Like, why did you do that and not change that, or let us have the ability to bring it down? You know, obviously this is clocked a certain way and it works. Well, now it works fine. This didn't need help. Why did you take it away? So these are just little nitpicks that I wanted to share with you. Okay. Number one, if you don't have to, don't take this apart. It's not worth it. Okay. I got lucky, and I don't regret it because I improved it, but I got lucky. If something else went wrong, like today with the trigger, I thought that was my bad for taking it apart. That's what I get, karma, right? I only got lucky again by just remembering grade school science, you know, with magnetism, and it fixed it. But other than that, I would have been stuck in digital form forever to use this, because A&O is not going to take it and fix it and send it back when I took it apart, posted a video, and the warranty label is broken. Yeah. So don't do that. Number two, the Pocket 2S owners, this device is like, again, twice as much money, and the warranty is only 6 months, as I found out, which is very unfortunate. And then on top of that, it's prone to breaking from constant hand use. So if you got one of these things, and I know it's weird, but you should play with the case on. I don't like to. It gives you a little more grip, but the feeling of the handheld itself, as you know, if you own it, it's better on its own without it. The light's off, but I'll show you the cap. The cap matches the case. And they were both white at one point, right? But you can clearly see the difference in color. Okay, this is why I have these caps on here, because the color changes real bad on these like textured ANEO white devices. Not the plastic or the buttons, it's just whatever. Like this has like a rubbery texture to it, and it was white, now it's cream. And in the light, it's a little dark cream too. So it's like, ooh, don't want to really show that. But now it's like I need to use this. So my sweaty palms, not that I play this thing to the point where the plastic will start chipping or the paint or the swelling, but it could happen. And the bigger story is if something does go wrong with your Pocket S2 Pro, it's now too late for ANEO to do anything about it because of when we got this product, or when we ordered it, I should say. I don't know when the warranty starts. It should start when you received it, like in September, but even September, October, November, December, January. So it should start when you receive it, like via shipping, but them probably it like started the day you signed up in the Indiegogo campaign, because that's just how they are. So keep that in mind. If you own a Pocket 2S, just be careful. Like I said, just use the case, Don't want your stuff blowing up or paint chipping. The thing's way too expensive to like have anything done to it. And if you have a Konkr Fit, if you're okay with the scores and if you got lucky with the thermal putty placement, then just don't worry about it. Just don't ever worry about it, because it's fine on its own. It feels great. You might want to change the caps, but again, those just come right off. Don't have to worry about it. But it still doesn't perform as well as the Pocket S2. And it's not the fact that the way it's set up in every device, maybe some, because again, quality control, but it's more or less what ANEO is doing on the back end. They did something to the Pocket S2 where it has an auto thinking mode to just adjust the cores and the GPU frequency. Like that's just how it should be, quite honestly. Like the only reason to max everything out would to get a game to work, show it off like I do, right? That's why I do it. But if I wanted to play something long session and just let it figure out and then maybe come up with better frame rates by adjusting the cores, because I can't do that just on the fly with exiting the screen and knowing and blah, 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 then yeah, the auto mode, I would want that on here too, but we don't have it. So I don't know why they put it on there, which is increasing performance with a lower 7 clock CPU score. And here we have the full potential because nothing's toned down, but it performs worse. Doesn't make any sense. So the way I look at it is just there's pros and cons to having both these devices. And now knowing the cons with the Pocket S2 Pro, it's kind of like, it's scary because that thing was more money. So it's like I got to be extra careful. And it's very upsetting to me because I love that thing. I love this, but like this has a special place in my heart with all the stuff I showed off on it and getting to work like I haven't done it on anything else. And I would always say, like, I'm going to take the case off because I like to play it without the case the way it feels. And now it's like, I can't have too many more times like that because I'm going to freak out if the back starts bubbling up or swelling or the paint chips. Like, are you kidding me? Like, my Odin 2, I'd never have to worry about anything. Like, look at this. I could flick this trigger for, like, hours and never think or worry that something broke. Like this thing's a tank, and so is the Odin 3. It's just a smaller one, right? I don't get it. It's just you could say what you want about the Elite chip. I get that. I've had a lot of experience with it, especially with the Y700. I have a lot of fun, but it wasn't my like go-to because of the limitations of compatibility, right? But the way this thing looks and feels, it just draws it to me more than the Y700 ever could. Okay, and playing with it without the grip or the case just makes me like it more because it's becoming more and more of a mini device to me, just longer. um, but even with the Elite inside, like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Okay. That was because I had to. This is because I want to. And oh yes, we are going to take this apart tomorrow. Okay. And this, my friends, is much easier to take apart than anything else because I'll show you. You can kind of see. See, you can see the clips in there, right? These clips are a lot more sturdy, a lot more like the plastic, I should say, is a lot sturdier, a lot more stronger than the Konkr. So popping these apart, I don't have to worry about breaking or using two plastic tools. And there's only 4 screws really that you have to take out, and then the back plate comes off. And guess what? We can see already. We can see the fan. So you take the fan out. What's underneath the fan? The heatsink. We take the heatsink off. What's under there? We're gonna find out. But I'm also gonna get the Grizzly Pro Putty, the 30 gram, tomorrow. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to apply thermal putty, and I'm going to remove whatever came on here. Not that it's bad, not that it desperately needs it, but I want to do it. And I'm not afraid to take this apart because AYN doesn't make stuff that breaks. And that's like the end of it. That's it. This is durable. Even this glass part feels more durable than any of these. Like, their screen protector was the least durable thing. Well, guess what? Just use a different screen protector and you're still good. And the sticks, the buttons, I don't have to worry about. I can toss this. I'm not going to. It's one of a kind. But still, maybe I will. I don't know. Don't do that. The point I'm trying to make is that I love the channel. I love showing off emulation. But, if one day we didn't see the Konkr anymore, I would have to talk about it. Like, yeah, I messed up. The trigger doesn't work anymore. I had to buy a new one, so we're gonna wait. And then, not be honest about taking it apart. That I'd feel the guilt every day. Advertising doing it and proving a point versus breaking your handheld. So this video is to basically describe, like, don't do that if you don't need to. You could maybe get lucky and get away with it, but you'll run into a lot of problems because it's too cheap with the plastic. You could break these clips. I almost did. Okay. I had to use 2 tools to carefully pry each part of the plastic away, unclip it so the seam would not stay open if there was no clip, because you could just break it off. Okay. These triggers come off easily, but there's a little hook on that keeps the trigger in place, that clicks it in. That could easily break. Don't do it. And then I don't even know what I did to the right trigger, but whatever I did demagnetized it, and I thought it broke. Okay, without even trying. And yeah, I replaced the thermal pad, and that was easy because these handhelds are getting smaller and smaller with just the battery and the fan, and then that's it. You can pretty much figure out what to do, where to go right away now. So, but at the end of the day, when you got a company like ANEO, it's not worth it. Just keep your device. If you want more power, and you can wait it out, get an Odin 3, get the Ultra, and then, like, I have no fear tomorrow of taking this apart. I would do it today, but I don't have the putty. It's coming tomorrow. So that's going to be an event. And I still got, on this thing, I got a 94% on standard mode with scores. Let's look at that. So do I really need to do this? Well, in the long run, yeah, I do, because the Odin is known for the stability, but it's really the HN2 chip that's known for getting that crazy stability because the chip was made to be efficient. It wasn't made to be powerful. It's a cell phone chip. And this chip is made to be powerful, but what we're doing with it is causing it, well, it's already known to just overheat in phones. It overheats in my phone. When I first got my Galaxy, it was overheating just looking at the web. Like, what the hell is burning a hole in my pocket? I was like, what's that about? And then it got an update. Whatever it did cooled it down. But, yeah, let's go here. It might have been that one, or it might have been this one. It's probably this one. It's the most recent one. Yeah, January 5th, 94.4% stability. And how did I get these scores on the Odin 3? I just put it in standard mode. each mode is unlocked. High performance, you lose more points. Performance, you might be the performance. It's hard to say, but performance might be where it's at. But I tried just standard, right? But what A1 did that I didn't know, I'm sorry, I gotta click this thing. They gave you the ability to use smart and sport in standard mode. So just keep it in standard. You're gonna get scores like this, okay? And 94 is totally fine. But the Odin 2 is always known for like 97 or above. 97, 98, stability. Always, always, always. That's why that handheld's so popular. So we're gonna do it tomorrow to get a 99 again. But that's gonna be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.